I thought about that the other night, Lofty, about fixing games in the NFL in the sense of like the new rule where somebody just has a fucking buzzer and can pull someone out of a play. Dear Lord, you want to talk about power. Just, hey, we're going to need him out for like 3 plays here. Okay. Right, but yeah. If you have something that's circular, you can play it. Hockey without ice. That's why African countries, when it comes to like track, is just like broken. It's like, what the fuck else are they gonna do? They have shoes and feet. Just go run. Like you can get really good at the sport of track if all you have to do is run every day. Like literally, like that's your form of entertainment. Like, and probably to live. Like I don't know, there's tigers and shit out there. Got a lot of stuff that can kill you over there. That too. It's always a sleeper.
On Christmas Eve, but I think that was like 2 games and we were out by 11 or something. With this, we wouldn't be out till 11:45.
Yeah, it's going to be a crowded December.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show, first look edition. You know what? Matter of fact, before anything, I had a tweet that I wanted to get out there, Ben. Sending this right now, sending this out there right now before we get started, just to let all the people know what's going on here. What's that?
Is it something I want to retweet?
Yeah, I think so. There you go.
That sounds like a no.
There you go.
Am I tagged in it?
Yeah, of course.
Astral traveling into week 13 over a bet of Molten Lava. Yeah, that's good.
That's solid, good. Right? Come join the journey, baby. What's going on, everyone? Happy to have you guys with us. Week 13. Ben said right before this started, he's like, I can't believe it's week 13 already. Neither can I. This is but you know what, man? And by the way, JazzRaz DFS, Ben Rasa with me. JazzRaz DFS on Twitter. I'm at Loughey_D, LOUGHY_D. This happens every year that we say this, I feel like.
It does. But at the same time, I don't know. It's one of those, it feels like the season's been going on forever. Like I'm borderline burnt out, but it feels like we just got, like I just did a college football show in championship weekend this morning over on the Odd Shopper channel. The season's over.
God, that's strange. Yeah. It just goes so fast. So is Michigan ranked 1 now?
2.
Okay. Who's 1? Georgia still?
Yep. Georgia and Michigan. This is what I'll say for people wondering about the playoff. Georgia, Michigan, 100% in. I think TCU, even if they lose, will get in. If USC wins, they're in. If USC loses, Ohio State will get in. To me, that's the only permutations left.
So like no Bama?
Bama's out. Clemson's out. Yeah.
Wow. I don't follow much college football.
Temple is out. UMass is out. All the elites.
You say Temple's out?
Temple's out. They didn't make it.
Yeah, I went to Temple. I never cared at all.
I don't know if I ever went to a UMass game.
I was older though. Like I went back to school later. So I didn't really care. I wasn't living there. You know what I mean? There was no connection.
That's different too. Okay.
Yeah. Like if I was younger, I think I probably would have gone to some games. At this point, I was going and working an 8-hour shift afterwards.
Yeah, that's a no. I have no excuse. They're just so bad. I didn't go to the game. It's freezing up there.
Yeah. It's cold today here. Anyway, hit that thumbs up, guys. Glad to have each and every one of you hanging out with us every single week of the season here on First Look. We take an interesting, a unique perspective on every slate to kick off the week. Just going through each position, seeing what we like early on. Of course, injuries and everything will shape up later on in the week. That's why we've got all of that information, strategy shows going all the way up till Sunday. But hey, it's time to get started. Again, hit that thumbs up. Come on, there's enough people in here. Take a second. You got working fingers. If you don't, my fault. Use your nose. If you do though, use them to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening in podcast form, subscribe, leave a rating, review, all that stuff helps us a ton. And after the fact on YouTube, after we go live, you guys are appreciated too. Ben and I read and respond, try to all of your comments in the comment section. All right, week 12 recap. What more can be said? Russell Wilson. I don't even think we need to spend much more time on this team. I said yesterday to you, and I tweeted it the other day, I think there are double-digit backup quarterbacks in this league. This is not hyperbole. Like, I'm being serious. I think there's double-digit backup quarterbacks in this league that would have the Broncos above 500 if they were starting for Denver all season.
I don't disagree with that, but I know you know what I said to you. I think there's like hundreds of people, some coaches, some not, that would have them closer as well. They're made for each other because half the world is ripping on Russell Wilson, rightfully so. It takes the heat off Hackett, and then plenty of people like me are ripping on the coach, taking the heat off Russell Wilson. I think it's the coach's fault more than Russell Wilson, but I mean, they're not competitive. It's insane that I haven't made more money fading them, considering they're like not even the worst offense in the league. They're like historically bad at this point now.
They're terrible. And of course it's Hackett as well. Hackett.
How? I mean, I've been wrong about a lot this year, but that was one. They could have had a new coach who has 5, 6, 7 weeks of work already if they would have just woken up. Like, why are they waiting till the end of the year? What exactly is the point of that?
Do you know how many touchdowns Russell Wilson has thrown this year?
8.
You did know. Yes. Unless that was a guess.
It was, I definitely have heard that in recent days. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, took a step.
But I'm saying like Hackett's horrible, but so is Wilson. Like even with bad coaching, you should be throwing more than a half what is it? What's he averaging? 2/3 of a touchdown per game right now? I don't know how many he's played. Yeah, what does he have? Like 8 touchdowns in 11 games or something? Either way, it's horrible. Davis Mills has thrown for 11 touchdowns, and he didn't even start last week. Wilson stinks, man. What do they do now going forward? At this point,
fire the coach.
Well, I'm saying like next year, they got fleeced by the Seattle Seahawks, completely fleeced. The Seahawks are made out like bandits, right? None of those guys wanted to play with Wilson anymore. They're like, we'll take your first round pick and some more. Sure, you can throw Noah Fant in along the way, whatever. You take Russell Wilson, okay? You still have a very good defense. Sure, they traded for traded away Bradley Chubb, so that helps them a little bit going forward. But hey, I'm still thinking next year. I think Russell Wilson still owed $101 million or something. If that is the case, there's no way he starts next year, right? Unless they get a new coach who says I can fix him.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not gonna like ride with Russell Wilson because I'm no fan of his, but I think that Russell Wilson has a real chance to be just fine in Denver.
Really?
Yeah.
You think
Yeah.
you think the coaching is so bad that
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, arguably the worst quarterback in the league this year. I think you could actually make that argument, right?
Yeah, you can.
You're saying that it's so bad that he has gone from competent quarterback to the worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow, what an indictment on Nathaniel Hackett.
This is Urban Meyer territory where I don't take anything that I see worth much. Because when you have a coach this inept, it doesn't really matter. Look at Jacksonville. Different situation, but it's the same concept. Like, I view this as Trevor Lawrence's rookie year.
Okay.
I really do. Like, and there's no one could win with this guy.
I agree with that. It sounds like you will put zero blame on Russell Wilson.
He's clearly not playing good. I don't think it's impossible that with a different, just like, I'm not gonna say aura, that's not the right word, but just like a different vibe over that team, that he can play. He could be in the top third of quarterbacks. Is he going to be the best quarterback in the league? Absolutely not. But could he be in the like car bucket, where he's just like, okay, he's not going to be the reason we lose all the games. He's fine. I think absolutely.
All right. Mike White, though, stud.
Yes, that's it for Zach Wilson.
If they had Mike White all year, the Broncos, they're undefeated.
They'd be the same record.
No.
If they had Mahomes, they would have the same record.
Well, that's a joke.
I don't think they'd be that much better.
Oh, dude, come on. If they had Patrick Mahomes.
You think if the Chiefs had Urban Meyer, they would be good?
You're telling me you're going to lose everybody here. You're telling me.
I don't have anybody left with some of my takes this year, so it's fine.
Oh.
That's aggressive. Obviously, that's aggressive. I'm not saying that. I am saying
what would the record be with Pat? Everything else remains the same, right? But Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback over Russell Wilson.
They wouldn't be as good as the Chiefs. That's for sure.
I'm not saying they would, because I think Hackett's been horrible too.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Obviously, we're playing the what if game. Like, I don't know how big of a scheme adjust. I'll say this. I don't think there's a scenario where any quarterback could succeed in Denver right now.
Wow. Even rushing quarterbacks?
Again, it's hard because it's like, if they had Lamar, he'd be averaging 2 carries in this guy's offense. Like, no, we don't run our quarterbacks here or something stupid because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, it's odd. I disagree with you, but I get what you're saying.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Sutton and Judy would be Pro Bowlers. That would involve them utilizing them properly. Like, Sutton should be a Pro Bowler this year, but they don't know what they're doing. They're throwing it to Latavius Murray, like, instead of throwing it to Sutton. I have no respect for what they do.
Neither do I. But Patrick Mahomes is still a million.
Yes.
He's a light years better than Russell Wilson right now.
He's infinitely better, and he's so good he could drag their lifeless.
That's
team.
all I'm saying. Yeah, that's all
more
I'm saying.
fair than not. I'm just emphasizing how bad that coach. Usually, even incompetent coaches, sometimes the talent kind of just says, "Okay, this guy, we're not going to let him lose the game for us. We can take over." They're so inept that it's actually holding down the talent.
No question. But that's why I'm saying I still think with a backup quarterback that's semi-competent, they'd be better, because they've lost so many games by 1 or 2 points that, and Wilson, like, one throw from Wilson, right? Like, 1 or 2 throws from Wilson is literally the difference in those games. It's a bad team. Mike White looks good. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's true. Like, the Brady Belichick, to me with coaching, it's pretty simple. If you don't have the players, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. It's impossible. Like, you can make them better than they were, but you can't win without the players. If you have the players, though, that's where you get to see who knows what they're doing and who doesn't. And it's clear that Denver, it's not a talent issue. That's what I'm saying about Russell Wilson. I don't think it's a talent issue.
So I think I don't think it's a talent issue anywhere but quarterback.
Yeah. And that's fair. It could very well be, but I tend to think that, obviously Mahomes is probably a bad example. The majority of quarterbacks, good or bad this year, I think if you slid them into Denver, it wouldn't change much.
Okay. I believe it's a scheme issue as well, John. I'm saying this is kind of a multifaceted issue here. All right. Anything else? Anything else stand out from week 12 for you guys in the chat? For you, Ben? Any big storylines?
I mean, I think that the Seahawks are starting to show some cracks. They're still in control because the Rams are lifeless. The Cardinals are just terrible. Yeah, the Raiders, that was a gutsy win.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton else from around the league. I'm trying to think of one more real quick. And it's a team that I always back. And I said at the beginning of the year on our Odd Shopper channel, well, if you keep losing games in miraculous ways, you can't say it's a fluke. It's a trend. The Ravens have some type of issue closing games, and it's not a coincidence that they keep doing it. I hope they can fix it, but they obviously have something going on where they're unable to close these games.
You and I talked about this at length on the Odd Shop over on the Odd Shopper channel, our weekly every game betting live stream with Eitan and Ben and myself. And I remember you and I saying earlier in the year that right now, football's a weird sport. And right now you can't look at, one or two games that Baltimore has kind of squandered away late and just apply that across the board and expect them to do that every week. But then I think we both said, if this continues to happen, then we have to look a little bit further. Now, I will say it's funny because we're still talking about a 7-4 team that is atop the AFC North. But amazingly, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like all four of their losses, they gave away. Miami, they gave away. Giants, they absolutely gave away with that fumble. They could have had that game locked up, right? Jacksonville, they gave away. Who else who's the other team they lost to?
Baltimore?
Yeah, who's the other team they lost to?
I'll tell you right now. I know this. They had a double-digit lead in every game. They lost to Miami. They lost to the Bills.
The Bills. That was another game.
They had a double-digit lead in all four losses.
Amazing. Yeah. Between them and the Raiders, the Raiders are 4-7 right now. They could easily be 7-4 with the amount of games they've thrown away.
Absolutely.
They had double-digit leads against Arizona. They had a massive double-digit lead against the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? They had a lot of big leads. Oh, they had a huge lead against the Chiefs, double digits.
And they get Denver twice. That's the easiest thing in the league now. True. If you're in Denver's division, you get 2 automatic wins. But they have to fix that. The other thing, and this just shows how good he is, I thought that kick by Tucker was good. I don't know if you saw it. The angle they had it, they trot him out for 67-yarder. I thought it was good. I mean, it was short, but man, it's unbelievable how good he really is.
Greg said, "Oh my God, this dude thinks Russell Wilson's worse than Mills. Wilson and the Carolina QBs. The hot takes just keep I wouldn't say he's worse than them. I'd say he's definitely playing as bad a football as anybody. Let me ask you this right now. Let me ask you this for all of you guys who, seem to be on the other page. And then we're going to get into week 13. A lot to talk about, 12-game slate. How many teams right now would want to take a shot on Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback? The Denver Broncos had a team built to where if they just had decent, remotely decent, probably even slightly below average quarterback play, they would be winning the division right now. I know you think it's Hackett.
No, but elite, everything else on that team on paper is intact to win right now.
Looking at this team, looking at whether you want to blame it on Hackett, how many teams would want Russell Wilson right now?
Yeah, not many. I mean, there's again,
I'm sure there's a couple that would take a shot.
I think for me, the easy thought there from that comment is you listed off Mills, Wilson, and the Carolina QBs. That's 3. So you want to be generous. We got him 29th now in the league. That's not good either. You know what I mean? There's okay. There might be a couple other quarter, and I'm the one who's advocating for Russell Wilson. But I mean, no matter where you fall on it, you can't have him above more than a handful of quarterbacks. You simply can't right now.
I bet if you ran a poll, who would you rather have, Gardner Minshew or Russell Wilson? I'm pretty certain that Gardner Minshew runs away with that.
Yeah. I mean, the hilarious thing is they should just use Drew Lock. My man.
Yeah. If they still had him.
Yeah. They should have never jettisoned him. He's in the Josh Rosen bucket. Could have succeeded there. Bring in Brock Osweiler. Hasn't been on the team for 6 years.
They should go get Jacoby Brissett now.
They should use Kendall Hinton.
Yeah.
He's out there.
All right. Someone said, Shark Killer said, there's no way Russell Wilson can become this bad in 1 year unless he said, I don't give a fuck. It's Nathaniel Hackett who needs to be. Yeah, Hackett's horrible.
Who is the actual backup for the Broncos?
Hold on. Because I remember doing preseason content.
I actually don't know.
I remember doing preseason content.
Heinous one. I count 8. New Orleans, Carolina, Washington, Houston, Indy, Pittsburgh, New England, and the Jets. That's ripping. Thank you, chat. I agree with that list. I'd rather have Taylor Heinicke if I was the Broncos, for sure.
Oh, my God. Wait, heinous one saying that Washington would rather have Wilson over Taylor Heinicke right now?
I don't know which way he's going. I'm assuming he's naming teams that have a worse quarterback.
No one's taking Russell Wilson over Mike White right now.
No.
Just saying.
Matt Ryan might be behind. Matt
Ryan's rough, man. He was so rattled yesterday.
He can't move.
No, it's bad. It's real bad. All right, let's talk some quarterbacks here. First up, first order of business. I'm sure you've looked at this slate, glossed it over a little bit. This is a pick your poison type of week, man. Like everywhere, it feels like, even at quarterback too. I mean, 50 plus total between the Bengals and Cincinnati. Patrick Mahomes, highest priced quarterback. Hurts coming off a monster game at 8K. Fields, if he plays against Green Bay, that just gave up the Eagles franchise single game rushing record. So Jalen Hurts, mind you, they've had guys like Michael Vick and Donovan McNabb and a lot of really good rushing quarterbacks. Randall Cunningham, but no, it was Green Bay that coughed up 150 some, whatever it was. Then you have Justin Herbert just going over these top guys against Las Vegas in another game with a 50 plus point total. You have a number of games this week. I think probably the most we've seen all year with 50 plus point totals. Bengals, Kansas City, Detroit, Jacksonville, Raiders, Chargers. They're all at 50 plus. Could be some real shootouts this week.
Oh, you already said kind of pick your poison. It's crazy. It feels more, it's not like, oh, there's one more game. It's a 12 game slate. It feels like there's 17 games somehow. They added teams because you have every option possible. Like, this is ridiculous. The nice thing, you don't really have to worry about ownership much because all these guys are going to garner it. You can only play one quarterback. So like no one's going to jump off the page. Where would I go? We're going to have to see how much value opens up, but maybe I'm just going to say, keep it simple. Why not just play Patrick Mahomes? Weather pending always, because they are outdoors in Cincinnati, but Mahomes, according to you, could drag the lifeless Broncos to the Super Bowl. I mean, if you can do that, you can do anything. Revenge on the mind against Cincinnati. Amazing total. Yes, he's expensive, but it seems like of all these guys, he has absolutely no question marks. He's going to have a huge game, as he seemingly always does.
All right. Number one, clearly putting words in my mouth there.
No, that's what you said.
That's definitely not what I said. But I have an issue with something. This isn't you specifically. So oftentimes it is.
Yeah, I was just saying, it sounds already like something I might do. Go ahead.
Not now. I made a mistake last week. I was in it was the $100 spy, the one that Alex won, actually, the one that Alex shipped for $100K. And I got off to a great start in this. It's a single entry. You can only play one lineup in this. And I had T. Higgins in there.
Nice.
Garrett Wilson.
Nice.
And somebody, either way, someone else. Big start. And then all the rest of my players are from the 4 o'clock slate. And I stuck with my Mahomes stack when I shouldn't have. And here's why I shouldn't have. And this isn't just hindsight. Like right after the game locked, I go, I should have fucking changed it because I had a real night. Because you have no idea who he's going to throw to anymore. And I'm really tired of trying to figure this out. Last week, or this past week, players that caught a football from Patrick Mahomes. And mind you, this is without Mecole Hardman. This is without Kadarius Toney. Kelsey had 4. Valdez-Scantling had 4. Smith-Schuster had 3. Skylar Moore had 5. Sky Moore had 5. Justin Watson had 2. Jody Fortson had 2. Jerick McKinnon had 3. Ronald Jones had 1. Isaiah Pacheco had 1. And Noah Gray had 2. That's 10 different receivers that caught a football. Moore had 5. No one else had more than 4. At this point, man, I'm just having a very difficult time trying to figure out where to go as far as pass catchers are concerned with the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's super frustrating.
I mean, it's a more than legitimate point. Maybe I'm being a little naive. Feel like when you're playing, you're 16.5-point favorites. It's just a little different. I think it'll be a more concentrated target share in these type of games, particularly with Kelsey. Like, you can skinny stack or you can add a third in there, and we'll talk about that. But to me, you're still tapping into a quarterback that's putting up like 30 plus fantasy points a game.
Of course. It's the problem is though, once you get to Mahomes and Kelsey, very expensive to begin with.
Yep.
Then you're limited to there aren't really expensive options, but even going with Juju there is tough. Maybe Justin Watson, who was on the field a ton last week. I'm not opposed to that, but I don't love the fact that there's so many different players that outside of Kelsey, Juju only played 30-some% of snaps. Clearly they wanted to limit him. Clearly. So I don't think that'll be the case this week. It's still Kelsey and Juju. I'm just saying there's not that concentrated target share in Kansas City like there are with so many other elite teams. And of course you can still play them. I have concerns about that as well.
No, and it's, again, totally legitimate. I do think last week was more, you see this in college football a lot when and you can't really do this in the NFL, but in college, like if you're playing a team and you're a 40-point favorite, they kind of just run the basics. You get your guys out of there, you chill. I mean, Miami, that's another topic if we had more time. Miami pulled their starters in like the second quarter.
I know, and then
they almost
Houston
lost
started making a little run there.
Stupid. Even though I think that's actually underutilized strategy. It's just interesting if you don't go to Mahomes. Now you're in, like, do you run them alone or do you stack? Because Jalen Hurts and Lamar and Fields, I mean, you're tapping into 100-yard bonuses potentially.
Yeah.
I kind of like Lamar. I played him last week, and again, he was so close to getting there in a big way. Had a touchdown called back. Andrews dropped the touchdown.
I know.
It was closer than it looks, and he still put up, a healthy amount. He had 80 yards. He was fine. Rushing.
Yeah, but I don't want to play him this week, though.
What? Oh, the vaunted Broncos defense?
Yeah, honestly, like maybe they've given up. Who knows? But I mean, if you're talking about Justin Fields or Lamar Jackson, if Fields is good to go, I'll go Fields all day long now. Justin Herbert against Las Vegas. I mean, he's not having the most remarkable season ever. Joe Burrow against Kansas City in a massive total game, getting Jamar Chase back. I'll tell you what, man. Trevor Lawrence against Detroit, I don't think is crazy here. You want to go down the list, you could look at Mike White against Minnesota. Hell, if Aaron Rodgers is out, I'll probably even play some Jordan Love against I really will, against the Chicago. With how bad the Chicago Bears have been, a discount quarterback where you can go like Christian Watson and someone else. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. All I'm saying is there are a lot of quarterbacks out there that if you're trying to get different, you can do it easily.
And I don't know if we buried the lead because we've talked about a bunch of guys, but of course, before we move to running back, we've got to talk about what are you going to do with Deshaun Watson?
I was actually waiting for you to bring that up.
I was kind of likewise because first of all, you couldn't. I mean, in Houston, because of course, like obviously.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think we got some real rust to shake off here? Don't roll your eyes. It's a
no. I wasn't. That wasn't roll my eyes. That was just like I never know. I have no idea. Like, nothing would surprise me, and people will attach it. Like, if he plays horrible, it's like,
Yeah.
well, of course he hasn't played. If he comes out there and he, has 5 touchdowns,
He was fresh.
yeah, he's been waiting.
I just hate
don't know what to
narrative.
do with him.
I just hate narratives like this because on one side, like he wants to come out and smoke his former team. And on the other hand, it's like, yeah, he had nerves and it didn't work out against his former team. Like there's no right answer there.
No. I don't know exactly. I'm super interested to see what our tools here at Stokastic say in terms of like, it's early in the week, but like top stack, the projection on him. It's such an awkward situation of how do we don't have any type of like data on a guy being out this long, returning, leading a new team, a team with weapons too.
Yeah, I think the one issue with me though is just because Watson's back, what makes us think that Nick Chubb doesn't just get 22 carries? What makes us think that against this Houston run defense, you've talked about it all season long, they're despicable.
Yeah.
They're terrible. They're allowing, about 5 yards per carry. It's not just that though. It's the fact that their offense is so atrocious that teams have no problem running it down their throats. They've allowed almost 1,900 rushing yards on the season. It's very possible that Nick Chubb just dominates in this game. And then Deshaun Watson is good, efficient, but not great. That's entirely reasonable to think that could happen.
I think that's, if I had to make a decision right now, I wouldn't play him.
I don't think I would right now either. It's still early. It's still early.
It still feels like more likely than not, Cleveland is more likely to try to implement him into an existing game plan than changing their scheme because he's back. And what I mean by that, they're a run-centric team around Nick Chubb. I think it continues and they integrate Watson into that rather than changing it away from their best player because Watson's back.
Right. I mean, were we just to assume that this is an all-out? I mean, they could just come in and slaughter.
I mean, Miami did.
Yeah. I actually, by the way, thought it was smart of McDaniel to pull those guys early.
It's just super frustrating. It's genius. I don't know why teams don't do that.
Yeah. And you know why else? They got the Niners in San Francisco this week. They were, once they got up by 30 points, they're like, all right, yeah, let's consider something. Yeah.
More teams should, in all sports, I'm a big advocate of just giving up immediately.
I really do think though, looking at quarterback, you could make a million different turns here and end up in the right spot, at least on paper. Like not all of them are going to have good games, right? But Lawrence against Detroit, they're coming up. I mean, what a beautiful game-winning drive that was from Trevor Lawrence.
Surgical.
What?
All to Zay Jones, but okay.
Yeah. Did you say surgical?
Yeah, just like
it was. Surgical.
He was just really, really.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a coach.
And I'm a big Doug Peterson fan. Like, yes, there was a point. There's always a point where you kind of, because in Philly, where you're like, okay, it might be his time might be up. Doesn't mean you don't root for him. It doesn't mean you don't still think he's a good coach somewhere. Like sometimes it just Andy Reid happened. It's funny because I still love Andy Reid. I'm happy every time Doug Peterson gets a win in Jacksonville. They deserve that. Baltimore deserved to lose it doing what they did again. Who fumbled it? Was it Gus Edwards that lost the fumble late?
Yeah.
It's remarkable that they figure, especially under John Harbaugh, you would think that this would happen under other coaches, not under Harbaugh, but Joe Burrow is a great play this week. Patrick Mahomes is a great play. The stacking aspect of it is difficult. Of course, if you're just playing a ton of lineups, it's way easier to just spray and hope you hit that combo. Fields, if he plays, I love him. I really do against Green Bay. And Herbert, we mentioned. I want to ask you about Jalen Hurts here, coming off a pretty crazy game against Green Bay on Sunday night.
Yeah, ridiculous that game got out of hand. You just mentioned crazy volume on the ground. I mean, just ridiculous. Didn't have to throw the ball. I am a little concerned about the pedestrian outputs through the air. He's had less than 200 yards passing in 3 straight games. Now
you can be concerned by that.
Against Tennessee, a team that really, grinds it out. 8,000 for that. Unless you're running him and you're saying, give me a 100-yard bonus. I'm going to say that he's drawing to a 100-yard bonus here to get there.
I'm sorry. I phrased that wrong. I'm saying I don't worry about the fact that he hasn't done that because he's been running a ton. And this is the type of team that can beat you on a number of different levels. Like if they can't run, they'll throw. But I'm with you in the sense of in this matchup, I'm just not really enamored with him here. He could still have a big game. Probably going to have to do a lot of it through the air. I would rather go to a healthy Fields, to Justin Herbert, to Joe Burrow. Like those 3 down the line, 74, 72, 6,900. I think all 3 of those guys are phenomenal plays this week.
I don't like Fields as much as you do. I like Herbert and Burrow quite a bit. Last guy I'll mention, kind of touched on him briefly, Trevor Lawrence. You could go to the other side and play Goff, I think, if you were really punting. Against Jacksonville's defense, they're inside. That could be a sneaky shootout game. Not my priority by any stretch. I want to live more in the upper echelons, but there's targets everywhere this week at quarterback.
What about Mike White? I know it was a really easy matchup last game for sure. Now they got Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm not as interested as others, I think, in Mike White. Not because I don't think he's good, not because I don't think he can move the ball. He's a 0 in the rushing game. Maybe he can carve up Minnesota's defense, but they get a long week to prep. I think that there is something to be said about when you come in like that and you're effective. I think that there is a learning curve for other teams, and you start to get tape on these guys. You start to see what they're doing. You start to prepare for them, and it gets a whole lot tougher.
He started 3 games last year. They got a little something on this guy.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be like Minnesota will be ready. Not to say, well, why wasn't, last week? That was as soft a matchup as you're ever going to get.
The Bears defense is maybe the worst in the league. No, probably over the last, 1+ months, probably the worst in the league. Right? Lions are getting better.
Yeah, no, it's not the Lions. It's probably the Broncos somehow. No, they're awful. They can't stop anyone, and they shouldn't be able to. They traded elite talent that the few, Roquan Smith is not just another linebacker.
Let me ask you quickly, Jordan Love and then Jimmy Garoppolo against Miami.
No chance I play Jimmy J.
Okay.
Only because if I was going to do like Mahomes, you can push back and say, he throws to all the good luck getting a target share concentration in San Francisco. Like they've got elite talent all over the field. It's almost impossible to figure out who it's going to be. On top of it's Jimmy G. I don't like that at all. And
if they'll commit to throwing the football, like at least with Kansas City that they're going to throw in a competitive game. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Jordan Love. If he plays, of course, if he starts.
Yeah, if he starts, I'll let the tools do the work. That's why I love, obviously, being a part of this company, because I really don't have a strong take. If the leverage and the boom bust are saying Jordan Love is undervalued, I'm absolutely going to explore that. If they say everyone is going to Jordan Love, it's an easy pass for me.
All right. Talk some running backs here. Before we do, though, shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. The only place where you're getting up to $100 first match deposit bonus and a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. The only place. But nowhere else you're going to get all of our tools for free, $120 value for the entire month, and get a first match deposit. PrizePicks is blowing. We were talking about this on a call yesterday. It's blowing up over there. Yeah. And usually sites aren't going to blow up unless they have a nice product, which they do. You're just taking player props, building lineups. Might be looked at as a parlay at a traditional book. But in this case, if you're in a non-legal betting state, no better way to scratch that itch. I'll tell you that much. You're getting the deposit bonus. Depending on how much you deposit, you get up to $100 match. You're getting all our free tools for every single sport, not just football. And over there, you're taking props. Take the over, take the under. No juice on either side. You put 5 of them, up to 5 into a lineup. If you hit all 5, you 10x your entry. If you hit 4, you still 2x. You ain't getting that at you ain't getting that anywhere else when you're betting parlays. You even get money back if you 3x. Great way to sustain a bankroll, but also build one. And if you're like Ben and you like college football or basketball and NHL or golf, NFL and golf as well, you can mix them all into the same lineup. It's not like all 5 have to be one sport. Check it out over at PrizePicks. Or if you like that, if you like that real adrenaline rush, you could do the power play where if you hit, you only pick 4, but if you hit all 4, you 10x, not 5. If you hit 3 or 4, you don't get anything back. So anyway, cool, different formats there. Get your free month of Stokastic, $120 value. Get your deposit bonus. You got to use the link in the description or in chat though. Otherwise, we can't track you. Unfortunately, we can't take you on your word. Ben and I know we get too many DMs of that type of stuff.
My DMs aren't even open and I get too many of them because
mine are.
Well, that's just, we're not going to discuss that, but that is insane.
It's not insane.
It is.
It's not. I'll tell you why later. It's not. Oftentimes, it's worth it. Mostly
it is. If I was a more well-rounded human, I would do it because you don't have any problem like filtering out the riffraff and ignoring the crazies. I can't do that.
Oh, you mean you feel obligated to respond to everybody?
I have like weird anxiety with that. So then it's like I'm in a wormhole talking to some fool for like an hour who's asking me 5v5s and I'm on a show and I have to answer.
So like you won't even cut a conversation short.
I can't.
Like once you get in, you're sucked down and
I'm terrible at that. No, it is a blessing because I really do. And a lot of great people like reach out and I always respond and I'm really good about that. But if I had my DMs open, the amount of just Nazgul goblin people out there that would just, it would be terrible. I couldn't do it. I legitimately couldn't do it.
Did you used to have them open and you had to close them for that?
Yeah,
reason?
I had to close them.
Wasn't good for the mental health.
No, it was not. Yeah, my therapist was like, close your DMs. And I was just like, yeah, okay. This is an easy choice.
But yeah, take advantage of that over at PrizePicks. And take advantage. Hey, let's talk about running backs here. What do we got going on with? What do we got going on at the top? Elijah Mitchell's out, but I feel like even if Christian McCaffrey plays, he's still too expensive.
I like some top end quarterbacks, and it does work a little more because of the elite running backs. Of course, would I like to play some of them? Absolutely, but I'm not enamored with it. Eckler is such a unique evaluation just because, the guy is a PPR machine. He doesn't even do anything. He had 80, he had 20 yards rushing and 60 yards receiving and still wound up with a very respectable score because he had 15 targets and they're easy catches last time out against the Raiders. Now, I like him. Not going to get to McCaffrey. I'm indifferent on Saquon. I'll pass Derrick Henry to you. Can Philly slow him?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it could be difficult. I like Derrick Henry this week. I'll tell you that much. I think Nick Chubb is in play. This is hopefully a low owned player that you don't need a lot of him to get over the field on, but I think he's viable. Josh Jacobs right now, you could play him against anybody, right? You play Josh Jacobs against anyone right now. They got a 50.5 point or 52 point total in this game. Truthfully for me, and I know you said you're indifferent to Saquon, but at the current price points, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley are, in my opinion, by far the two odd men out from 7,900 and up. Like, I'm not interested in Barkley right now at all.
I'm interested to see if Nick Chubb gets viewed as the odd man out just because of, the Deshaun Watson situation. Will people say, this is a more dynamic offense? His volume's going to be down. He's got a quarterback that can move. I could see Nick Chubb not being clearly he'd be a super popular option if we didn't have the change at quarterback.
Yeah.
I timed that part. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
That was bad.
Listen, here's the thing. Nice work on Tyler's part too.
Yeah, that was good work.
It's my fault. This will be done.
that was
I give myself one more week, and then we're done. We quit smoking. We'll quit this,
That's impressive.
and then I got to live. But you know the one good thing, the one drawback to actually smoking when I did in the winter is it was freezing outside, and you have to go outside and torture yourself. You know?
That makes me want to smoke. I love the cold. Like, I'd love to go out there. It's freezing. It's windy. You gotta like huddle.
It's terrible. No, you probably would like that.
I would.
So this I can just do, just hit it inside. But it's getting to a point where I'll just abuse the hell out of that. And
you didn't smoke cigarettes in the house, right?
No,
I don't know. I don't know what goes on.
No, dude, my wife would. She would lose it.
Yeah, good for her.
And hold on, she should. It's
good for her. Absolutely.
That's a gross habit. Like smoking itself, smoking is pretty gross. Smoking inside where now all of your clothes and the furniture. My Nana used to smoke inside the house, and it was like you wouldn't want to go there.
My accountant, I dropped off. I go into the house. Oh my God. It was just like, well.
Oh, your accountant smokes inside?
Oh, it's like, you know, when it's just like attached to the walls. Oh, I had to burn my clothes.
Yeah, it's that bad.
I wrote them off, obviously, because, at my accountants, but it was just ridiculous.
Mateus saying you smoke cancer stick. Yeah, I thought this was known. I thought I don't anymore. I quit.
Not on shows.
Several months. Yeah, not on shows. Several months ago. All right. I'm with you on Nick Chubb. That you could see this being a spot where he goes overlooked. I think anyway he would have gone overlooked at AK. I'm just saying it's a really good matchup for the guy. Problem is he doesn't really get pass catching volume. So I still prefer Jacobs over him. I still prefer Henry, actually, because Henry has no Kareem Hunt in there, even though Kareem Hunt's not getting a lot of work. But I think the mid-range has a lot to offer too, right? You got Aaron Jones against this horrible Bears team. You have Joe Mixon against Kansas City. Curious to get your takes on that. And then we can go even a little bit further down the list and get into some other names.
Yeah, definitely a deep position. You mentioned Jones. Mixon, it's a concussion, which is always good because there's, if he's cleared, there's no limitations. Should get right back to bell cow status. Interesting if you want to put him with Burrow. I'm not sure how many people will look to that type of stack. I got to ask you, and I definitely think it's aggressive, and I'm not saying I'm doing it. I was wrong about this on Thanksgiving. But nobody's going to play Dalvin Cook. The volume is not the issue. Everyone was talking about volume. That was not what happened. He got more than his money's worth on Thanksgiving. He had 22 carries and 5 targets. That is exactly what I thought could happen and wanted to happen, and he turned it into nothing. Tough matchup with the Jets. I feel like he's a good tournament play, though.
Hey, by the way, how about old Mac Jones throwing for 900 yards last week?
Thanksgiving, it always goes bad. It somehow, I don't even know, it went worse, even though it felt like it shouldn't have. It was truly bad.
Yeah. I had a decent Thanksgiving.
Oh, I got walloped. I almost came in last. I had one good ticket into the 5K tournament, and I almost came in last.
Jeez.
It was, which is easier to take. Like, I like weeks like that.
Because where you don't have anything to sweat.
It's like, and it's my fault. Like, you can't do the old, like, oh, I chose a coin flip wrong and it cost me $200K. Like, no, my entire lineup was wrong.
We hear about that often.
Yeah. That's a tough scene.
It is, but yes, you're right. In a spot like that, you can, I'm not saying it's not fun to sweat. Actually, it's not fun to sweat things. Some people say it is, but in the case like that, you kind of just go, all right, I'll try to enjoy the rest of my day at this point. That's all.
I mean, I tried, but no, I just think that Dalvin Cook, if he's like 2% owned or something, I'm going to give him a serious look in a tough matchup.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to.
Yeah, and no one does. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
I get that. I think the issue I'm running into here is opportunity cost. Like, I don't know if there's really going to be that many popular. There's a lot of good. Travis Etienne's going against Detroit. he's fine. He was cleared to return last week. They just held him out to be cautious.
Yeah, Jermichael Hasty. Didn't even know he was on the Jaguars.
Blew
Just
up.
wild. Running
Blew up.
wild.
Yeah. You could count a lot of running backs. I mean, I really like Aaron Jones too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good I'm just trying to think of value. Pierce dropped below 6K. That's kind of new. Swift is in the mid fives, but volume's still not there. Both Washington backs are cheap, but I don't really see it. The Rams guys are non-existent. I don't know. I don't know how much lower I can go besides.
You like Latavius Murray?
No.
You like, how about Zonovan Knight? If
Zonovan
Carter's
Knight,
out.
one of my favorite players from
He got a lot of, where's he from?
NC State,
He got a lot of work last week.
I think. I don't. Yeah, Zonovan Knight. Let's see Zonovan Knight.
So Michael Carter went down, so if he would have to be out. Would you be interested in some Zonovan?
NC State. This is the guy. All right.
Okay.
So, well, whatever. No, I would not be interested in Zonovan Knight. I'm assuming that some value is going to open up. How about I give a quick shout out to someone that another guy I predicted was going to be great, was not great. Didn't think he was in the NFL. Watching the game last night, Anthony McFarland's out there doing things.
Yo, I know. I listen to this. So I'm doing the morning strategy show with Matt, right? And this is before there was any indication that McFarland would even be brought up from the practice squad, right? And I go, we're talking about the backfield here because Jaylen Warren was out. And I'm like, hey, whatever happened to Anthony McFarland? That was Ben's guy. So you remember him? It's like, that was Ben's guy. What's going on with him? This is exactly what happened on the show yesterday. So I remember you talking about him. For some reason, you and I were talking about Dynasty. You know what it was? It was right at the onset of COVID.
Yeah.
And like we had nothing else to talk about. So we're talking about like Dynasty players and running. You remember that? The weird draft that they had? And that was the McFarland draft, I think.
It was. I'm a super fan of that guy, and he was out there making moves. That's all. We'll have to see if Najee's hurt. I don't know.
That's what I was going to ask you. If he's hurt, and then you're also so you have Najee who left that game with was it an abdominal injury or something? And then Jaylen Warren didn't even practice last week with a hamstring injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's out. That leaves you with McFarland and Benny Snell. You'd have to pick the right one there, but do you have interest in those cheap guys?
I think you'd have to, yeah. Particularly Snell is sub 5K, and you're talking about 15 to 20 touch upside. Because the thing last night, like you're like, okay, Benny Snell, he had 12 for 62, and McFarland got in there a little. Najee had 10 carries and a target. Like he was in the game for a while. If we get the full game with just those two, both of them I think could be in play potentially.
I think so too. I think McFarland is minimum salary still.
He is. And it's a volume thing. I still actually, all seriousness, think that he could really be a decent player. He's electric. If he had touches, he can do something.
He looked nice yesterday too.
Dude, he's a player. He was so sick in college.
Was he?
Yeah, he was amazing. I was like, that's where I found him. I was just like, this is the type of guy that's going to be real good.
Can I just say though, it still boggles my mind that Pittsburgh, knowing that their quarterback was on his way to the graveyard, right? Knowing that their offensive line had holes and couldn't block, still went out and spent a first-round pick on a running back. It just seemed very odd to me and miscalculated.
It is.
Yeah. Didn't make any sense. They sure know how to scout wide receivers. I'll give them that. But I don't get it. You could have just held on to James Conner and got the same production.
Yeah. And that's a fair question from Chad. I don't have the answer. Like, why doesn't he get more work? I don't know. I really don't. I'm sure there's probably like Maybe he can't hold up in pass protection, but when I see McFarland out there, I'm like, this guy looks like he should get the work.
Yeah, they never gave him a chance. They've never gave him a chance. So we'll see. Anything else at running back?
No, I think running back is the position that we always say, like, guys pop up and look at last week. We ended up talking about Wilson and P. Ryan and Michael Carter. And there was one other super chalk back that's escaping my mind. So it's like these injuries open up very quickly.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it was Jeff Wilson and it was Rashad White.
Oh yeah, Rashad White, because Fournette was hurt. There you go. Like it opens up so quickly late in the year.
So okay, Iran and USA today.
Yes,
the tensions off the pitch. You got Iranians out there rooting for USA to win. The protesters saying, and then you got the U.S. Soccer Federation taking the emblem off the middle of the Iran flag.
Yeah, they want us banned for 10 years.
Yeah. And then our State Department's like, no, it wasn't us. But none of that matters because BetMGM wants to give you $200 just to bet $10 on one of these games. And none of that political stuff matters when you're getting free money. Am I wrong?
No, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter who you bet. It doesn't matter whether you know anything about soccer. You're going to get $200 in your BetMGM account for following those instructions. I would bet the U.S. I bet the U.S. I give people a little sneak peek in our Discord. I like the U.S. in this game. So follow me and just bet the U.S. after you sign up and let's win the bet and get the free money.
That's the thing. All you got to do, you got to use the link, right? You got to use the link in the description or the one in the chat that Tyler can throw in. Put $10 if MGM's available in your state. Put $10 on any pre-match game for the World Cup. Okay. And if they don't need to score a goal, it says that it doesn't matter. They could win, lose, no goals, doesn't matter. You're getting the 200. But if your bet wins, you're still getting paid out on the bet. And if your bet and you're getting the $200. If your bet loses, you still get the $200. Go on, run it up, turn it into a sexy bankroll, or lose it all and you're still only down $10. That's your downside here. Your floor in all of this is $10. So yeah, I'm definitely watching this game. I tell you, I'm not a big soccer guy, but
gotta watch it.
I'm betting it for sure. If I wasn't already at MGM, I would have bet this using the MGM link because it can be more than $10 too. You don't have to just put $10 on if you want more of a sweat, but either way, you're getting those $200 on the other side. Link in the description, link in chat. Check it out. BetMGM if it's available to you. This is done, I think, Sunday, so take advantage of it now. All right, wide receiver. Do you want anything to do with Jefferson and Tyreek Hill today? I ask it in that sense only because they're very expensive, number one. Difficult matchups for both of these guys. It isn't to say that the two of the preeminent wide receivers in the world can't get it done, but they are pretty expensive. Very expensive. Very expensive.
And also, I mean, to me, part of the reason the answer is no is because if I have that money, I want Devontae Adams. I'd rather go get him at 87. And more so, there's just so many elite wide receivers from T. Higgins to St. Brown to Metcalf, Debo, Keenan Allen. These guys are $2,000 and change cheaper than the guys we're talking about at the top. Jefferson and Tyreek Hill have slate breaking upside every time they're out there. But there's 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the sixes that also have slate breaking upside. Maybe not as often, but I need that money. I'll be more balanced than paying up at wide receiver. If I pay up, it'll be Adams.
Okay. Agreed. But I think you could drop down a little further too, like you were pointing out. If Jamar Chase plays and he's not limited, Jamar Chase at 7,900, I think is a very reasonable play. I'm on Russ St. Brown at 7,100 against Jacksonville in a game with a 50+ point total. Amari 64 with Watson back, but that worries me a little bit. I don't know how comfortable I am going to Amari Cooper in this spot. Maybe I'm just completely wrong about this.
I'd rather have guys right below him. Ayuk, I think, is fine. Christian Kirk's interesting, kind of off the buy low. He still had 9 targets. He has 30 targets in the last 3 games. It's not exactly like he got phased out. Zay Jones just went nuclear. So I'm fine with those guys. Loughran, I'll never get right. I tend to say just pass. It gets tricky quickly though. Maybe one of the Steelers guys, Pickens or Deontay, in the low fives.
Yeah. Shit, man. I'll go straight back to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't see why you wouldn't. This is not a good secondary for Minnesota. It's not good.
And the conditions were not good at all. Like, credit to Mike White. They were playing in pouring rain.
Right. This isn't a dome.
So I get it. I can't say Sutton anymore. I've given up on that.
Me too. It's a shame, but that time is over.
If we do get Jordan Love, I know you have interest. So
I'll definitely play Christian Watson. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you're going to ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. I will definitely play Christian Watson. Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be my highest owned receiver, but I'll have zero qualms about playing Christian Watson. That Chicago defense is really, really, I don't think I'm overstating it, right? Like, I don't think I'm overselling how bad this defense is.
I mean, I can bring up some numbers, but they're just absolutely awful. I do want to ask you too. First glance, do you think you'll have a single Ram in any lineup?
I was thinking about that. Are you assuming? I assume Stafford probably doesn't even play.
Oh, I'm assuming he's out.
Then no.
So Chicago, here we go. Opponent yards per pass attempt on the year. Chicago is 31st at 7.6. You would think that's horrendous because they're only beating one team. Over the last 3 weeks, they're up to 8.9 yards allowed per opponent pass. That would be dead last in the league. Last week, 10.6 yards allowed per opponent pass. That's not even on the graph.
Zach Wilson. Yeah. It's remarkable stuff. They're terrible. It's terrible. I think that Jordan Love would be fine. Honestly, I don't care if it's Rodgers or Jordan Love. I'll be sprinkling in some, definitely have some Aaron Jones, some Christian Watson. Yeah. I think those spots are totally reasonable. I also think, go ahead.
No, please. I'm not saying anything useful. So once we get to the useless part.
Okay. One price that seems odd to me, if he's active, is Mike Williams being sub 6K.
Problem I have with Mike Williams is that I would have to, and even then you're taking someone at their word. If they say he's active and he's good to go, that's not enough because he goes out there and it's an ankle and it's just like, it's another misstep and then he's done. Like, it's not a concussion.
I get that.
It's so hard to say, like, I'm 100% and I'm going because, like, if he's on a pitch count, you're done.
Yeah. It just seems cheap for a guy that can make some amazing,
he's unbelievable. He's never healthy.
Any interest in Debo at 66?
They have to be tournament centric, but I'm not going to do this, but man, is nobody last week, rightfully so. The Miami stack was by far our highest in the top stack tool. Everyone loved Miami and they were crushing. And then they called off and eased down. There isn't a soul that's going to play the Miami stack this week.
I know.
Like Tua, Waddle, Hill, run back with Debo. Then you have no money.
Yeah. It is. It's not out of the realm of possibility that this game shoots out.
This defense, though, is so they're talking about getting healthy at the right time.
Where they win 13-0 on Sunday.
Yeah, and they're just punishing. Like, I worry. For opposing quarterbacks.
It is a 46.5 point total though. It's not nothing to sneeze at. That's not
at all.
It's not a Broncos total here. Two good offenses.
This will be an under-owned game.
Got to be game of the week, right? Like if there's one game on the slate that I'm really excited to watch, it's this one.
Yeah, this and Chiefs Bengals.
Chiefs Bengals is good for sure.
Broncos.
We know what the Chiefs are. We know what the Bengals are. We know the Dolphins offense is awesome, but do we? I want to get a glimpse of what this Dolphins team looks like against a really good opponent on the road.
I think the Dolphins are going to get walloped.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You think they get steamrolled?
Yeah. And that's not because I don't think they're good. I think they're really good. I just think it's a bad spot. And they're starting to get real home road splits. They're deadly at home. I mean, it must be nice where you got the sun, the inferno on one sidelines. They're living in the shade. It's like 30 degrees warmer on the visitor side.
Brilliant design of that brilliant stadium design.
That's stupid.
Like, is that cheating?
Yeah, that's just dumb. That's just
it feels like cheating.
Yeah, that's over the top. She's like, oh, there's a like beehives littering on the visitor side. Like, well, that's just no, like, come on.
There were games where it was like a nice shady 83 on their side and 112 scorching, burning skin off on the roadside earlier in the season.
It's just stupid.
Do you remember when all the Bills were just like having heat strokes and dropping like flies?
It's like 130. Again, that's another thing I never understand. Like, they're like, oh, it's a pretty warm day out here, 92. Like, let's go to field level. Oh, 165 on the field. Like, okay, that doesn't seem possible. What do I know? But
yeah, all I know is that it's a big advantage. Probably not as much at this time of year. It's still warm there, but in those late summer months, shit, man, it was bad. But okay, so what's the spread on that game?
3.5.
Oh, so you're clearly favoring San Francisco. You're clearly betting San Francisco. Like 3. What would you bet that up to?
Certainly through 4.5. I mean, it's not going to get to like 7, so you don't need to worry.
I was just, it was a hypothetical.
Yeah. I think that it should be flirting more towards like 6 than it is 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I think San Francisco right now is going to cause problems for Miami on the road that they haven't dealt with. And their coach, if there's one guy maybe in the entire league ready to handle it, I think it's Miami's coach. That guy's really good. We'll find out.
All right.
I do have one quick, not important comment. A lot of people in chat really like the color of my sweater.
Yes, I've noticed that. They're
saying plum. So I'm not going to go on a rant, but I will say I'm not a huge fan of, like, you ever notice that like everything is a color? Maybe I'm just an idiot. I just call this like red. Different type
I would
of
call
red.
it purple, but yeah, I would.
It's like, oh, that's almond. It's like, what do you mean? No, that's a food. That's not a color. Like, plum is a color. There's a lot of colors out there.
Right. So you're saying you would, like, if you see something that's an off-white, you wouldn't be calling it,
Off-white.
What's
like aqua.
I wasn't thinking aqua, but
you see, here we go. Like, oh, that's stone white.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Oh, winter green. No, it's just green.
So like, this is just blue. You're not trying to find something that has that color to describe it. You're just going to say blue.
Yeah. Maroon is the actual answer. I'm not saying it's just
maroon,
like not primary colors. And I actually don't mind plum, but I'm telling you, it gets, spirit green, emerald green, dark green, light green, green. What's just green? Then is green like poultry where it's not an actual food? It's just like an overarching color and there's no real green.
Well, let me ask you a question that I already know the answer to. Have you ever done any painting, like painting a house?
So I painted actually 2 days ago.
Really?
I had May bought these little like ornaments and she was like, do you want to paint one? And then I got paint all over.
You painted an ornament.
It took me like hours and it just, all the colors meshed and it just basically is just like now just black kind of, because I screwed it up.
So have you ever painted a house?
Go on. Have I ever painted a house? Well, first of all, I would never get on a ladder.
No, the walls in your house.
The roller. I did some, and then they were like, you can play first, and then we'll paint. When we moved into this place.
Okay.
Oh,
I've done a lot of painting.
I don't like painting too, because it's just like, to me, it's just like, all right, just do it, and then it's like, oh, you screwed it up. It's like, well, I don't think so. The wall's now the color we needed it to be. So how?
You can screw it up. My personal opinion is bear paint sucks. But anyway, because I've screwed up with that before. But hold on. This is what I'm getting at. So without all of these variety of colors, you could never, they need names. Paint needs names. And there's thousands of varieties of paint, right? They can't just all be called green. All of them can't all just be called blue.
I know, but then what is blue? That's where it gets screwed up. If everything has an attachment, then the basic colors get ruled out.
Blue, you know what blue is? Blue is, we know what blue is because we know what blue is.
You think that, and then it's
Am I wrong?
I would agree with that, but you start asking people, it's like, well, what color are the Giants' helmets? It's like, oh, that's ocean blue.
But it's still blue.
Well, but okay.
It's a different kind of blue. It's a variation of blue. That's all. You're overthinking this one.
I'm not overthinking it. There are too many labels on colors. Just let's not get crazy.
Your shirt is the color of the suit from the movie Angus. You ever seen the movie Angus?
No, I've never even heard of that.
Oh, I bet no one's seen this. It was Tyler. I bet you weren't born. It was from 95. No, 1995. Angus. Yeah, look it up.
I will. Oh, yeah, they're remaking Shout Out Willow is getting remade. I saw that.
Okay.
In the commercials. So that's a crazy movie. Anyway, that's all I got. We can move to tight ends and defense. I just wanted to mention.
I get it.
The color thing has been on my mind. Yeah, Miami is teal. Here we go. Like, oh no, it's aquamarine. Like, again, we don't need both of them. They should fight like March Madness, and teal and aquamarine. There should only be one at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I think teal's acceptable.
Sure, but then you don't. Oh, it's cyan. You know, cyan. Where's that?
I don't know. I know they have crayons out there that are
crayons are over the top. Like, oh,
like
it's
macaroni. No,
yeah,
you know what's over the top is the fact that my wife calls them crowns, and so does her whole family.
What?
Wait, you don't know that? Is that not?
That's not a New York thing.
It must be like a Philly Norristown type deal because
never heard that in my life.
It's horrible. Like I'm trying to teach my daughter real young every time, like crayons, not crowns. Oh yeah. So there's people out there that know this. This is a thing, Ben. Crowns.
100% crayon, Sloppy. You are correct in that statement.
Of course. Well, yes, of course. Yes, dude, it's literally spelled crayon. But yeah, crowns is a thing. Anyway, DeAndre Carter against Las Vegas. If Mike Williams is out, $3,900. That's a nice
good
spot.
Flyer last week. You're tapping it. He's an easy attachment to Herbert stacks too.
Exactly.
If you're chaying down.
Yeah. And last question here. It takes us only a second to do tight end, but Chase Claypool against Green Bay if Fields plays with no Darnell Mooney. Do you have any interest at all? I feel obligated to ask.
So I definitely have some interest if you get the right personnel in terms of Mooney out. And I don't think you need to, but say you're like, you know what? I like Jordan Love. He's playing. I want to attach, Watson, maybe another. What an interesting run back.
It is. Yeah, really is.
You didn't want one last week, but in theory, Claypool would have been bringing it back against the Mike White stack. Like, yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Yeah, Benny, the way people, Wooder. My dad said Wooder.
There's a crayon called Red Orange.
What?
Red Orange is the color.
Which is basically like, well, yeah, I didn't know, but wouldn't that basically be burnt orange? Because that's a color too.
I'm not even going to say anything because my point is being made for.
It's still orange. I didn't think we'd go down this rabbit hole today. This is
stupid though. There's so many names for these things and they're all the same.
It's true.
Thank you.
It's true. All right. It's true. But if you held them up against each other, they would look different. So they need a different name.
They're like one iota different.
Right.
If you asked 100 people which is which, no one would know.
Really?
Yeah. Well, or I'm wrong and then I'm just an idiot, but I don't think people know the difference between like salmon and blood orange and red orange and burnt orange and light orange. How would you know?
But if you line them up next to each other, all right. Tight heads. Also, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so. We got 300 plus people in here. Appreciate you guys, as always, hanging out through all of this madness. Let's talk about this position. It shouldn't take too long. Kelsey's expensive. Kelsey's really expensive. Mark Andrews has Denver. Those are the two top price guys, and then we get down a whole lot more. What are you doing with Kelsey and Andrews?
So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. If you play Mahomes, I don't know how you don't have Kelsey. So that's a given. If you play Lamar, you could obviously go solo, but if you're going to take a pass catcher, I think it's a given that you get Andrews. So they're clearly the alphas for their stacks. One-offs, it's just super hard unless you're paying down. You go to a Lawrence stack, a Goff stack, maybe a Love stack, Mike White. Then you might have the money at tight end to luxury spend. If I had the money, I'd probably go get Kelsey and go all the way. If not, I think it's more interesting. If you don't, do you call it a big two? Because they're priced like it. Because you got Hawkinson and Kittle just lurking in the fives. Then it falls off a cliff.
I think so.
Okay. I'd agree.
I also kind of like Kittle, to be completely honest here. I don't hate George Kittle this week.
I played a little Kittle last week, and it's just, do you not see the same parallels with Kansas City and San Francisco? Like, to me, everything you said about Kansas City is applicable to San Francisco.
Really? You think?
I do. Jennings, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, and the running game. Like,
yeah. But, yeah, that's 5, not 10 or 11.
I guess
the difference is there's probably going to be a lot more passing volume from Kansas City than there is for San Francisco. Like, I will definitely give you that.
And the prices, like
right.
all this peripheral guys for Kansas City are cheap. San Francisco, no matter who you play, you need a real game.
Yeah, it's tough. It is. But I mean, you're just looking at like 2 weeks ago, Debo had 7 for 57. So not a great game, but still 9 targets. Kittle had 4 for 84, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. Like, the target share in that game was still heavily concentrated to the big guns. So I don't know. I think maybe it's equivalent just in the sense as if you were to control, like if you were to factor in pass the volume, then yeah, it's probably pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Everett's 4,400, Freiermuth 43. There's not a lot here. I mean, Cole Kmet might be a popular option if Fields plays with Mooney out. Foster Moreau's probably going to be pretty popular at 3,600. Maybe a little bit of David Njoku. I'm not sure I see anything that I love. Probably just going to spray around this 3K range. Maybe sprinkle in a little bit of that 4K and then George Kittle.
I would assume that Hayden Hurst, coming off a 9-target game at 35, great game in general, will be an easy attachment.
But Jamar coming back is something.
It does. It does. Do you think it's I haven't actually read up fully on this. Is Chase 100% back in?
From everything I'm seeing, he is on track to play.
Okay.
Yeah, on track, I believe. He's expected to return. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he'll play because Burrow thought he was going to play last week. I would be surprised if Chase is not on the field yet.
Onion, Conklin. I mean, these are guys, again, I think you're probably looking to just like weird stacks of Mike White or whoever's the Packers quarterback. Does Higbee play in the NFL anymore? I wanted to ask that as well.
Lowest snap share of the year, lowest target, 0 targets. You can't play him. You can't play him.
Of course. You know who made an appearance last week in the world? You remember Jordan Akins?
Yeah.
Last time I played Jordan Akins, he had a touchdown bounce off the mask, the visor on his face in the sun. Just bounced right off it. Haven't thought about him since. Of course, he played well last week. I think that's more the exception to the rule, even though Texans have no playmakers anywhere.
Yeah, that's a tough. How about Jelani Woods last night?
Oh my God. I bubbled in some like important small fields because of that.
I cashed in some of these
That hurt.
fields only because like the rest of my lineup wasn't good. And somehow Jelani Woods like carry. It was very odd. Like the rest of my lineups were pretty bad.
It was a weird showdown slate last night.
Very weird game. And Woods didn't do anything early on, and then he just started racking them up. Interesting. Maybe they have someone.
Ooh, shots on Pierce. Okay.
On who?
I don't know if he means Damian Pierce or Alec Pierce, but both of them are going to be YOLO dart throws.
Pierce isn't on this slate, right?
One of the Pierces has to be.
No, Damian Pierce is. I actually wrote him down. I don't think some shots on Damian Pierce is insane. I really don't. 5,900. I mean, it's been a brutal couple games here, but I don't think it's insane in large field tournaments. But this team stinks. Give me one defense under 3K.
Oh my God, there's like 30 of them. The Rams.
Yeah.
$2,300.
That line, remember last night I was telling you it's a 4.5? It's at 8 now.
What?
I swear I saw it. I swear I saw it at 4.5 or 5. I swear maybe I'm insane.
I don't know. I mean, again, I'll go to OddsShopper right after the show and find out, but what did they find out? That Stafford isn't playing? I thought we knew that already.
I'm not even sure how much of a difference it would make at this point.
I think it helps. I'd rather have Perkins.
Yeah. At least he gave him a little bit of life last week, right?
He can move.
Yeah.
That's step one.
I think Steelers against Atlanta is reasonable too. 2,600.
I don't mind that. It's tough because some of these ones at the bottom, like I can't go to Cincy, can't go to the Raiders. I'm not going to Denver.
What about the Lions against Jacksonville or the Jets against Minnesota?
Yeah, those are fine. I honestly think you can make a case for Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Why not?
Why not? New quarterback. Who knows? I think there are scenarios where Cleveland takes some time to get it together. I just worry they run it down their throat. That's my biggest concern.
Me too. Hey, follow Ben at JazzRaz DFS, me at Lafayette_D. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. It's always a blast here. Never know what's going to happen. Tell your friends about the strategy show. Tell them to come join us. Tell them to check out our OddsShopper channel as well. We're getting betting picks for everything, all the time, every day. Shout out to Tyler for producing this one. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.